Breaking tonight, just 24 hours after blaming everything and everyone for her loss but herself, Hillary Clinton is at it again tonight, speaking just a few moments ago in New York and suggesting once again there were forces outside her control responsible for her defeat.
The more you dig and the more you understand what we're up against, and taking me out of the equation so that it's not about, okay, what happened to you, it's what happened to us. And how much more alert we need to be as a nation. And obviously, I'm particularly concerned about the role that Russia played. Whatever political party or philosophy you have, you can't be all right with the idea that a foreign adversary was trying to influence the outcome of our election.
That speech coming on the heels of a talk she did yesterday where she seemingly blamed everyone but herself for the election loss. For more, we turn to Fox News Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry in Washington, and more tonight. Ed?
Sandra, good to see you. It's gotten so bad that former Trump campaign spokesman Jason Miller joked, raise your hand if Hillary Clinton has not yet blamed you for her loss. I mean, think about it. Last month, she had another one of these forums where she initially said, look, I take responsibility for the loss, but then did anything but. In fact, we've added it up. We've made this special graphic for you. About 40 different excuses she has come up with in what we call the Clinton blame game, starting with the FBI and James Comey to the Russians and, yes, even Netflix somehow. But now the very Democrats who were crying on election night after pouring their hearts and souls into the campaign are irate because she has inexplicably decided to shift some of that blame game to, yes, the Democratic National Committee. Even though, remember, the DNC had actually worked to help her defeat Bernie Sanders, much to his chagrin. Watch.
I inherit nothing from the Democratic Party.
What do you mean nothing?
I mean, it was bankrupt. It was on the verge of insolvency. Its data was mediocre to poor, non-existent, wrong. I had to inject money into it.
Well, DNC officials today were hitting back hard, saying they were out of money because former President Barack Obama starved them, focusing instead on his own political organization. And the head of the DNC's data operation decided to tweet this was, quote, bleeping BS. And the real problem was that Clinton aides ignored their data, showing Michigan, Pennsylvania, and yes, Wisconsin were very close because the campaign, quote, thought they knew better. Those tweets were later deleted, though other users saved them. Another top Democrat told me, quote, we didn't tell her to hide her pneumonia. We didn't suggest she insult the core of Trump's base, calling them a basket of deplorables. We didn't teach her how to be tone deaf. Most telling, perhaps, is that even Clinton's former spokesman, Brian Fowler, who said, yes, her comments were at least authentic, said he would not pile on against the DNC. Sandra?
Ed Henry, thank you. Good to see you. We'll hear now Lisa Booth, a Republican strategist, and Richard Fowler, a nationally syndicated radio talk show host. Both are Fox News contributors. Lisa,
Sandra.
that list of people and things and agencies that Hillary Clinton is blaming for her election loss, it's long.
Well, Sandra, you've got to give her credit because she is pretty creative in coming up with these excuses. Ed said that there's 40 now that she has come up with, but I really think it's this kind of arrogance, which is why she was rejected by her own party in 2008 in the Democrat primary, again with general election voters in 2016. You have to remember, Sandra, Hillary Clinton had everything at her disposal. The DNC rigged the primary in her favor. She outspent then candidate Donald Trump by, almost twice as much. There were reports heading in to the election day a month before that she had 5 times the amount of staff as Donald Trump did. So she had everything at her disposal and still managed to lose.
And I mean, Richard, Brian Fallon, the press secretary for her 2016 presidential campaign, won't even back her up on her slamming of the DNC and its data operation as non-existent and bankrupt, as you just heard. He said, quote, I'm not going to join in that.
I just want it all to end, Sandra, fast.
Because it's
really
not
fast.
helping your party, is it, Richard?
No, here's the thing. I like Hillary Clinton like the next Democrat, and I voted for her, and I'll admit that. And I regret the fact that Donald Trump is in the White House. With all that being said, she's got to remain quiet, and I think she should take more walks in the woods in Chappaqua and stay away from interviews like this, because it only continues to divide our party. What our party needs to be focused on now more than ever is having a conversation with our voters, figuring out what they need, and coming up with a solution-oriented plan to make sure that we deal with that, right? We need our contract for America, and sadly, we're spending more time talking about Hillary Clinton and how she lost the election. Here's the facts. She lost.
And Lisa, for all the problems that Democrats say Republicans have right now with the Trump administration and the division they say that is there in the Republican Party, it doesn't appear that they have a united front, particularly as we hear words like this come out of Hillary Clinton's mouth.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. They're in disarray and they're in search of a message, because you have the Democratic Party has been rejected by historic margins over the past 8 years under President Obama. So their message, it doesn't matter if it was out of all these candidates that were rejected under those 8 years. So I think the party definitely needs to figure out what its direction is. But look, as someone who's worked on campaigns, I also just find her remarks offensive. How rude is it to blame the people who worked countless hours trying to get her elected? Maybe she should have visited Wisconsin once. Maybe she should have spent more money in Wisconsin and Michigan in the final weeks heading into the campaign than she did pursuing one electoral college vote in Omaha, Nebraska. So it's just, it's just so arrogant, and it's really wrong to the staffers who worked so hard for her.
To be sure, Richard, she has said on the record she takes personal responsibility for her election loss. But Richard, let me just ask you, as somebody who comes on here representing the Democratic Party, why did she lose the election? What is your message on that?
Well, here's the thing. I think there's some truth to what Lisa's saying here, right? Because I think we spend way too much money in Arizona trying to get those electoral votes when we should have been firming up our votes in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, and in Michigan. I've worked a number of campaigns. I've worked a couple of presidentials, and I got to tell you, what you need more than ever is a message that connects people, and then a message that urges them to go to the polls. That's what Barack Obama had.
You're still not telling me what it is.
Both times. Hillary Clinton didn't have that. And I think moving forward, our message has got to be, we are for everybody. We are an inclusive party that believes that we need to maintain our globe for the future generation, and we're a party that's we're a party about everybody coming together, raising the minimum wage for working families. We're a party about making sure the public education systems work for not just a chosen few, but for everybody. And that's the message we should be talking about. Sadly, it's getting clouded by Hillary Clinton blaming her loss. Her loss is blamed on one person, her. She runs her campaign. She lost this election, period.
And for the record, President Trump has weighed in on this just last night. In reaction to her blaming her own party, he tweeted, "Crooked Hillary now blames everybody but herself."
He should just stop tweeting, though,
she was a terrible candidate. Sandra,
he should stop.
Richard,
I mean, for the benefit of the
Lisa,
Democrats,
we can all agree she was a horrible candidate.
Thank you, guys. All right, still ahead. Police now investigating a sickening hate crime involving